Welcome back to another episode of the Makor College Experience, Parsha Podcast, Season 2, Episode 22, Parshas Shelach. This week's Parsha, the Meraglim are sent to go ahead to Eretz Yisrael to scout out the land. And we know that they made the grave mistake of speaking Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael, except Yoshua and Kalev. And Yoshua has a very interesting story to why he was zoche to be of the holy two people that did not speak Lashon Hara about the land. It says that his name used to be Hosea, and his name was changed to Yehoshua with a Yud in the beginning. Now the Gemara in Brachas explains that the Yud in the beginning of Yehoshua came from the Yud in Sari Menu's name, Sarai. And when Sari Menu lost the Yud, Hashem changed her name to Sarah. The Gemara in Brachas says that it was because she became the mother of the nation, and she was for the people after that. And Rav Eitan Katz, who gave over this Vart, explains that the Yud then went up and kind of floated around there for a little bit. And that Yud represented inward thinking and represented this idea of tzimtzum, the idea of thinking inward and introspection and thinking about yourself and helping yourself. And Sarai had that Yud so that she could be more introspective and think about herself. And when she dropped the Yud, it's because she became the mother of the nation. She was for everyone else after that. And the Yud then went to Yoshua because Yoshua needed that introspection. Once he was going to Eretz Yisrael to scout out the land, he needed that introspection to help himself to be able to make sure that he doesn't become affected by others, to make sure that he has that ability to think inwards, and that's why that Yud stopped floating around and went down to Hosea and made him Yehoshua. And it teaches us a very important lesson. It teaches us that there are times where we have to be a leader, and we have to think about others, and we have to really look around to others and lead others and to teach. Right? We've said many times in this year that everyone has to teach. Everyone has the ability to teach, and everyone has to teach. Everyone has to teach whatever Torah they know. Lubavitch Rebbe says, if they know Aleph, teach Aleph. If you know Aleph and Beis, teach Aleph and Beis. Whatever you know, you should teach. Everyone has to teach. But there's also times where we have to focus on ourselves. All of the big Gedolei Yisrael make sure to set aside time so that they can learn for themselves also. They're not always teaching. They're not always leading. In fact, when they are sitting and learning by themselves, they're still leading in a way showing us that we all have to make sure that we are setting aside time for ourselves to work on ourselves. No one could be fully leading and doing the work for the nation if they're not working on themselves. Yoshua was on a mission for other people. Yoshua was going to the land of Canaan to scout it out. He was on a mission for the people for the Jewish people, for Klal Yisrael. So you could say he was not being introspective right now. He was actually going out for the people, for the nation. But even then, he found a place in himself to make sure that he's still being introspective, to make sure that he's still looking inwards to himself and working on himself and not letting other people affect him. When everyone else would speak Lashon Hara, he made sure to say, I'm on a nation for the other people, but right now I'm also working on myself. We have to constantly be working on ourselves. We have to constantly be looking inwards. Even when we're helping other people, even when we're out for other people, we have to constantly be looking inwards. So in Shir and also in the program as a whole, right? By the way, for all our listeners at home, just to give a little bit of introduction, we're in the studio today with a few of us. There's a few of us all in the studio all at once today. I have, to my left, I have Shua, and then just going clockwise, I have Reb Zev, Shlomo, Yochi, and Niti, all in the studio. And we have been discussing that it's very important to do chesed. It's very important to... We always say to be there for the Jewish people, right? We're always saying things in Shira like, do it for the Jewish people, be there for the Jewish people,
do it for the boys,
do it for the boys, right? This idea of like giving myself up for the Jewish people, giving myself up for others, right? And we all do our own thing for the Jewish people, right? Right, we all have that aspect of sacrifice in our lives, whatever it is that we do, right? Mm-hmm. But in that aspect of chesed, in that aspect of self-sacrifice, also needs to have a little bit of responsibility for myself, right? Do you think it's selfish to say that when I'm doing an act of chesed, I also need to kind of take care of myself? What do you think? What do you think, Yochi? Do you think it's selfish to say that if I'm doing chesed, I have to also focus on myself a little bit?
Yeah.
Is there ever a time where you're doing chesed and you have to focus on yourself at the same time?
No. I have no idea.
You can think off the top of your head. Because you're just always doing chesed.
I'm doing chesed.
He's always doing chesed.
Yeah. I would say it's a bit of a dialectic.
Okay, tell me more.
Because in a way, you're focusing on yourself. In a way, you're for the tzibur.
In a way, you're focusing on yourself, and you're also for the tzibur. Right? Right? And how do those both play out?
You got to be staying in check with your values, but also be there for the cloud.
And you can use your values for the klal. But you have to make sure that you are...
sticking to your values with doing whatever you're doing for the cloud.
Right, I hear you. Reb Zev, do you think it's selfish to say that sometimes when we do chesed, we benefit from said chesed?
I mean, it might be a little selfish, but that's just, I think the reality of some things. But yeah, definitely selfish, no question about that.
You think so?
I think so.
Tzedakah, when it comes to tzedakah, it said that when you give tzedakah, Hashem gives you 10 times the amount back, right? So it sounds like, I can give tzedakah with bad intentions.
Well,
and just say, it's an investment.
You can still do, still a good deed, though. Even if you do it with bad intention, you're still doing something good, even if you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
I hear. At least there's a positive act happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it becomes selfish when you boast about it.
It becomes selfish when
you boast about it.
When
yeah, that's really the selfish part.
I hear.
There's a clear example from this week's Parsha, the Meraglim. Because I was listening to Rav Shmuel Silva from Baltimore, and he was saying how Hashem knew automatically it was the wrong decision, but Moshe Rabbeinu thought it was a good idea. Which goes
to send the Meraglim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which goes to show Hashem wants to see us put in the effort, even though it might be the wrong intentions.
Right. Sometimes Hashem allows us to make decisions for ourselves, even though He necessarily doesn't agree with them. He says, "I will help you with whatever you think you need to do."
That's what was saying.
A couple of things. One, I think Zev is right that when we start bragging about the chesed we do, that's not working on ourselves. That's not being introspective and helping ourselves, right? If I help another person, and by helping another person, I become a better person, I think that's okay. But when I start going around and saying, hey, shoot, I just became a really good person. You want to hear why? And like I start talking about all the really good things I do. That's not great. It's awesome that when we help other people, we gain from it.
But don't boast.
Right. And what Shlomo was saying about at least you're doing something good, I think that's true. But I think it depends what it means when we say doing chesed with the wrong intention. And what I mean by that is if you're donating online, right? There's all these like fundraisers online like all the time. If you're donating online and you're donating because you see it as an investment where Hashem's going to pay you back money, or you're donating because you really just want, the mountain bike that they're going to give to you because you raised $500, or you're donating because you want to be able to, whatever it is, I hear. At least you're doing something great. At least you're donating. And it's online, and no one knows that you donated because you did it online anonymously, and no one, whatever. But, and also the organization doesn't really care. The organization doesn't care that you're donating.
The people who are getting it don't really care.
The people that are getting it don't really care. Right.
They don't care, like, why you're doing it.
But if you were to donate money to someone who was raising money in a shul, and you looked at him in the face, and you kind of just threw the money at him, would you say the same thing?
No.
Would you say like, oh, who cares about his intention? Who cares if you crumpled up the money and threw it at his nose?
That's just rude.
Right, but would you say, at least he's donating money?
No, I would be like, here you go. Tishkul mitzvahs.
I once saw a guy in Israel. I'm sure he's a big Baal Chesed. I'm sure he's a big Baal Tzedakah. I don't know who he was. I don't want to
call him out.
I don't want to call him out. But there was something that I saw. Maybe I should be more down the Kaftzchos. But there's something that I saw that made me feel a little weird. That I saw this guy with stacks of cash, and he came to the kotel, and he would just give it out to people, and people would have to say something nice to him first, or and it was almost like this whole show, to make himself look really rich and really wealthy, that he was able to give money to people. And I saw this a couple of times with a couple of different people, so it's not just one guy doing this. But I remember thinking this is a little bit of a weird vibe. Yeah, people are walking away with money that they need, but they have to almost beg for it, and they have to almost make the guy feel good about it. In that case, Niti, do you think that's an appropriate way of donating money?
No.
That feels almost.
Tested cases.
But then you can say at least he's donating.
But it could be the people who don't need it.
It could be the people that are going to don't really need it.
It's not a good thing. They'll use it for stuff that.
It could be. But also, I would say that
it's a nice thing.
If he wanted to donate money, he could have just gone over to them and given them money. First of all, b'tznua. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to make a whole show about it and make himself look good. And second of all, he could have done it to give them the proper kavod habrios that they deserved. Right? Yes, he's being for the klal. But he's not being introspective right now, and he's not looking inwards to think about what am I going to do to make sure I protect myself from all the inappropriate moralities of this world. Right? We just heard this song in Shir, Jungle, by Thank You Hashem, by Mindy Warsh. Right?
And TYH boys.
And
shout to
and the
TYH
boys. And the message of the song we were discussing right before Shir started. In the music video, there's a lot of trees, so I was saying that we should plant more trees. Most of the guys, Shlomo, you didn't believe that was the message of the song. Shlomo, you were not having it. You were like, that can't be it. Right?
I'm not saying them saying they probably don't know what that phrase means.
The jungle, like this world is a jungle.
Yeah.
So I think that they were saying that, and Zev was really maybe Zev, maybe you could describe it a little bit better, because I was not hitting the the hammer on the
ball.
nail. So maybe you could describe a little bit better the message of the song.
I think the message of the song, you can look in the description of the music video, it talks all about it. But I think the main message of the song is that this world is just such a crazy place, and it's kind of like a jungle out there. It's just crazy, a lot of just weird stuff happening.
And we should also plant more trees.
We should also plant more trees, but also, it talks about being a light. That even though the world is crazy, we still are able to bring that light in this
in a dark
whatever world.
And Yehoshua did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua brought a light by not speaking Lashon Hara. Sometimes we do something by not doing something. By holding ourselves back from doing something and allowing us to not be influenced by other people.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing ourselves to not be influenced by negative forces in the world, by allowing us to instead do good for the world, bring light into the world. The Alter Rebbe, we learned in Shir, would say that, I believe it was the Alter Rebbe, he would say that a chassid's a lamplighter.
Mm-hmm.
Because a chassid has a light in his hand. What does he do with that light? He doesn't just use it for himself.
Shines onto other people.
He uses it to light everyone else's torches also. Other people's lamps. He
He
uses it to light up the room. Not just for himself, but for other people. Right? He uses it to make sure that he's doing well for others. But he wouldn't be able to do that. He wouldn't be able to light up the room if he didn't work on his own torch. Right? Can you light someone else's candle if you don't have a fire yourself?
Mm-mm.
Yehoshua made sure to light his own flame first. I'm going to make sure that I'm not speaking Lashon Hara about Canaan. We have to make sure that we're also working on ourselves. We can't focus on giving chesed to others without also making sure that we are good people working on our own midos. Constantly, by the way. I once saw, I don't know if I've ever mentioned in this podcast, but I've definitely mentioned it in Shir. I once saw Rav Victor Nemetzel sitting in a Shir room, and he came a few minutes early to Mincha, and I was learning in the room at the time, and he was sitting and he opened up a sefer on, it was a biography on a different Rebbe. I don't remember which biography it was. He was reading like one of these Art Scroll Masorah biographies, and afterwards, my Rebbe went over to him, and very respectfully went over to him and said, a little bit, maybe with a little bit of chutzpah, but respectfully, what does Rav Nebenzahl really gain from reading other, and of course Rav Nebenzahl, we knew he wasn't wasting his time. Gedolei Yisrael don't waste their time, so what do you gain from reading about other Gedolim instead of learning your normal Gemara cycle? And he said, very simply, we also need chizuk. It's Musar. You never stop learning Musar. Never stop working on yourself. Shua, you said you had a mashal about this.
Yeah, I once heard numerous times from a chashiv, let's just say, a single friend, colleague of mine, Avram Fried. He gives a mashal of you put soda into the freezer. It freezes. You ask the soda, why did you freeze? Everything around me falls, it also freezes.
Oh.
We put vodka into the freezer. It doesn't freeze. You ask vodka, why didn't you freeze it? It would respond in the mashal saying, I'm not influenced by the things around me.
Should be like the vodka.
Exactly.
Should be like the vodka.
And I don't mean drink it.
And our neshamas should be like the alcohol content that stops us from being influenced by others.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, with that, I wish, B'ezrat Hashem, we should all be zoche to make sure that we're not influenced by other people around us for the bad. We should be influenced by others for the good. Right? We should get chizuk from each other, only good influence, and we should, like Yehoshua, have our own internal yud that allows us to be more introspective and allows us to think inwards, allows us to work on ourselves and not be influenced by the evil forces of the world and to not be influenced by negativity. And instead, rather, while we're doing chesed for others, and while we're on missions for others, and while we're out there, fighting the good fight and doing good for the Jewish people out in the world that may not necessarily be the easiest world to live in, and may sometimes have scary forces in it, we should be able to use our yud to make sure we're still working on ourselves and not be influenced by others, to be devadka, like Shua says, to make sure that we're okay with being a little bit different if it's for the good. And with that, from our families here at the Makor College Experience to your families back at home, we wish you a good Shabbos. Today's podcast should be Irfu Shlema, Chavar Yosef Ben Sarah, and we wish you a good Shabbos.